Welcome back to another episode of Two Down Territory. The rebrand is official, and we are back grading and ranking our top 15 running backs and linebackers.
Alrighty, but before we get into that, I feel like the season is finally approaching, and we got some good news to talk about.
Close.
So, Jonathan,
we're so close.
Yeah, what are some of the news stories or the hot gossip going around the league that you wanted to talk about today?
Well, the NFL is cracking down in a very bigoted manner against kissing your homies. What in the world is wrong with that?
I mean, lock me up and throw away the key, dude.
Dude, if I was, I should be banned from attending NFL games for the amount of times that I've kissed the homies on the forehead. I mean, what's the problem here?
I know, that's what I'm saying. He was just being a little silly,
No, in all seriousness, no. The Christian Wilkins situation, what is going on?
So strange. And why does it not surprise me at all that it's the Raiders?
They really brought Pete Carroll in thinking that it was going to have some major impact on the culture, and I'm sure it will. But what a rocky start. What a Raiders start. Incredible stuff here.
Dude, I wonder if Pete Carroll caught him doing it. He was like, hey, none of that. hey. Whoa.
Chewing his gum? Hey, none of that.
We're not going to have any of that in our locker room.
What if this is all a cover-up and Pete Carroll was who Christian Wilkins was trying to plant a big old smooch on? Just fired up in the moment? It's like giving your grandpa a kiss. Like, what?
Yeah, exactly. He just made a big play or whatever, and he's just like, I'm fired up. Come here, coach.
let me point one on you, Pete.
Like that video.
Oh my god.
Put lipstick on my lips and I kiss you. I'm feeling romantical.
I guess in terms of football nerd sense, the upside is that the Raiders now get to wipe actually a decent chunk of money off their cap. I mean, Christian Wilkins was not making the vet minimum by any means. So, no, we're looking at a pretty interesting development. And the news clips and the interview clips that are coming out of the Raiders camp are not taking the attention away. They're only weird. No. Like, all of the NFL players are getting up and they're like, I don't want to talk about it. It was weird. And you're like, okay.
It reminds me, was the guy's name Sunshine from Remember the Titans? That's probably what it was like. Oh my gosh.
Well, I think we can move on from Christian Wilkins, but
one thing that has to be said is that Christian Wilkins is an excellent D tackle. So, it's going to be interesting to see where he signs.
I think that I didn't even really put the next step in mind. Is he going to get signed somewhere?
Yeah, he has to, right? I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Based on talent. Yeah, we will find out. Next week, maybe we'll have an update for you on that.
Hopefully.
Well, I think the other biggest news, perfect timing, that broke this afternoon, the last holdout in the NFL just ended today, and it's your guy, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. Shamar Stewart finally signed with the Bengals. What's funny about that, it's just hard not to be mad as a Bengals fan, even when there's good news. It's always like, what? I saw a report talking about how the compromise that was made was that Shamar Stewart agreed to the original terms that he was holding out for, and the Bengals gave him $500,000 in December of guaranteed money instead of now instead of in December. So that means that what? Are you kidding? Obviously $500,000 is a lot from the perspective of Shamar Stewart. How broke are the Bengals if they're really making this guy hold out for $500,000? It's absolutely crazy.
It is ridiculous. On a quick note, I will say I wasn't even referring to Shamar Stewart. I was talking about Trey Hendrickson, but we can
Oh,
talk. We can
oh
talk
yeah,
about Shamar Stewart. It was a completely. I have a slightly different take than you, and I get it because you, as a Bengals fan, hold more anger towards their front office.
true.
I felt like at the bare minimum, both sides came out looking equally poor. Like this did not
Agreed.
come
Oh,
out,
agreed.
and I get it. Again, we're talking in terms of for the 95% of all Americans, what would be life-changing amount of money in just the
Yeah,
slight difference in negotiation, but relative to an NFL contract negotiation, this did not need to blow up anywhere near
yeah.
the proportion it did for that sum of money.
Well, and I think that the more that reports came out about the whole situation and exactly why the Bengals weren't wanting to sign him, it became pretty clear it wasn't about the money and the actual size of the contract or the guarantees, but
Yeah.
specifically, well, I guess kind of the guarantees. The guarantees related to if Shamar Stewart were to get in trouble off the field. From that perspective, I understand it. Like if you just compare it to any other job, like it's a reasonable thing to have in your contract that like I'm not going to pay you if you get into trouble and or like in prison or something like that.
Yeah.
Um but also just the like it was interesting to me that like that was the difference maker because it wasn't like the difference maker was how much money was being made or being paid. It
Yeah.
was when that money was guaranteed. So that was interesting. Either way, I just hope that both parties can kind of move on. It seems like they have. It seems like there really isn't any bad blood. Shamar Stewart has
No,
been
I mean
putting up some
Shamar
good work.
Stewart doesn't seem, from everything that I've seen outside
Yeah.
of this incident, it doesn't seem like he's opposed to like it's not any sort of
Yeah.
like laziness or not wanting to get started
Right.
with camp. Like as soon as it was done, he was locked in and probably
Yeah.
will be locked in.
And
It's just
all the reports are saying that he's doing great in camp. So that's good.
yeah, and it's more so when we can transition to this. It was
Yeah.
kind of uh it was a little brother situation
Yeah.
that added on to how bad the Trey Hendrickson situation was getting,
Yes.
which it's odd. And I'll go ahead and say this. We're recording this on July 29th in the evening. So a lot of the news could change in the 36 hours before this goes out publicly. But Trey Hendrickson has ended his holdout and will be joining camp, and yet all of the reports is that they're actually still not really close to finalizing the contract.
Yeah, they're like 10 million away. One thing that I will say about this is that I personally, like in terms of character, hold Trey Hendrickson in really high regard. And so
Yeah.
this to me, like I don't think he would be willing to do this if it wasn't for some inkling that he had that, or some information that he had that a deal is going to get done. I'm not trying to get my hopes up. He's not going to be practicing. He's just going to be there with the team. And I would imagine also the Shamar Stewart signing also contributed to that. I'm sure that he wants to get in there and start coaching up this guy because I've talked about this before, but the exact skill set that Shamar Stewart needs to work on is the exact skill set that Trey Hendrickson excels at, which is that of finishing
That's a
the
great
play
point.
and getting to the quarterback. That's why I said when we originally talked about this draft pick in like our first episode, I talked about how this is a great draft pick, in my opinion, given the fact that Trey Hendrickson is on the field with him for the next few years. Because having that veteran leadership and a guy that can teach him the ropes of how to perfect this certain skill is going to be huge. Shamar Stewart can get off of any block. He showed that in college. He is one of, if not the most athletically gifted defensive end / edge rusher that we've seen in a long time, probably since Myles Garrett. But in college, he struggled finishing the play. If he can figure that out, we're talking about a guy that has insane upside. And so the hope is that we'll be able to sign Trey Hendrickson. We'll be able to start getting that and start gelling. And I have no doubt that Trey Hendrickson is not going to be mentally affected by this whole situation.
Yeah, well, and Yeah, I have complete faith in Trey Hendrickson as a player. And also, it's kind of one of those things where this is the Bengals. Like, if you can sustain this amount of success with all of the craziness and the contracts and what seems like a
Yeah.
really poorly run front office over your career, then you can deal with this. I will say it probably also, his ending the holdout speaks, and there hasn't been any reports on this, so, but I don't feel like I'm breaking news here that this will probably come out at some point, that Joe Burrow and Trey Hendrickson were talking to one another,
I'm sure.
because Burrow has taken a very vocal stance, rather impressively in terms of a PR standpoint, of riding the line behind or between, like, getting on your team to lock in, for lack of a
Yeah.
better term, but then also guilting your front office into making sure that everything works out. And
Yeah.
so it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if Trey Hendrickson just decided, hey, I need to be there for the team, or else, you know, what everyone's thinking is what have the last 3 seasons for the Bengals been? Slow starts. That's the story
Yeah.
of, this Bengals era, this Joe Burrow era, really. And so doing everything possible to avoid that has to be the goal.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, yeah, there's obviously, I could go on and on about this whole situation, but I think we kind of hit the highlights. So I think it's time, unless there's any more news you wanted to talk about.
Um, Something cool that I saw today at camp, as of when we're recording this, the Chiefs' 2 rookies,
I
Joshua
saw that. I saw
Simmons
that. It was
and
so
Ashton
awesome.
Gelati, got into it with each other, throwing fists at camp. And if you're not a football person, then you're like, they were fighting each other at camp. No, this
No,
is exactly what you
but
want to see.
my favorite part about it was the delayed reaction from Gelati. So, like,
Yeah.
basically what happened was Gelati got dominated, and then Josh Simmons was like, kind of like, went a little past the whistle, and so Gelati like kind of pushed back a little bit, and then out of almost nowhere, Josh Simmons just like threw a punch at him, and Ashton Gelati was just like, and then it was as if like in his mind he was contemplating like, do I hit him back?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he eventually was like, okay, yeah, like obviously I have to. And so eventually he did throw a punch, but it was just one of those things where he was probably like, I don't really want, like, he has a helmet on, like, I don't really know if I want, like, but I guess I have to, right? Like,
for people to note something, Chiefs training camps are notorious for
yeah,
doing this and having this, and it's not because the Chiefs have a culture, like a poorly managed culture. Andy Reid, it's a known fact, runs the toughest training
yes,
camp in the NFL, and they're doing it in the blazing Missouri heat. You were
yeah.
going to the middle of Missouri in what is right now a heat wave in Missouri, by the way.
I'm living like 30 minutes away from there. It was like, it felt like 110 outside today. It was ridiculous.
I was dying today to imagine wearing pads and going through that. Yeah, even if he was, and to be clear, Josh Simmons was going pretty far after the whistle. If you
For
watch
sure.
the video, even just the slightest little unnecessary amount of contact, you'd be set off when tensions and
sure.
emotions are that high. So, but it's a great thing to see the 2 rookies fighting each other. A great sign, and kind of a good end. When there's a fight at the Chiefs training camp, it's a sign that football is back.
Absolutely. And like we got to do that. We got to like rate like the best training camp fights. Like the ones that comes to
That would be
mind
good.
is DeAndre Hopkins, and was it who was he going against?
Well, that was a joint practice.
It
Actually.
was who was it? Was it Norman? It might have been.
It might have been.
Either way, just those moments, it's like we're so back, baby.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that rounds out our hot gossip for the week.
It does. So in that case, I think we can go on to ranking running backs. So we're going to be ranking our top 15 running backs. I'm going to get the presentation ready.
And I'll go ahead and mention my criteria for this.
Sure.
it's very similar if you watched last week's episode where we listed our top 15 wide receivers. The biggest difference is that I value production more for a running back than a wide receiver, because as a wide receiver, you're so much, almost entirely dependent upon your quarterback. Whereas the running back, you are having much more opportunities to produce separate from anyone else. Obviously, the O-line plays a factor in, but I get that, but it is certainly, in my opinion, far more than a wide receiver where you have to rely on someone else accurately throwing you the football every single time. And so the stat lines of recent years matter a bit more for me.
Yeah, for me, I just kind of, to be honest, because we're going to be ranking running backs and linebackers, I was just kind of like, who do I like watch and think they're better? Like, obviously,
that's a big part. Yeah,
stat line was important. I definitely used the O line as a context to determine a lot of these as like tiebreakers, but really, it just boils down to like, I'm watching this guy and I just feel like he's just better than this guy, which is,
yes, absolutely.
it's my opinion and I stand on it.
Well, we will do this in a similar way to where we did last week, where we will show each of our top 5 at a time. So 15 through 11, 10 through 6, and 5 through 1.
Yep, absolutely. So this time I made the graphic a little bit differently just because I added both of our names of 5 at the same time. But we can go one by one and read them out loud. Okay, so I'll start off. At 15, I have Joe Mixon. 14, Jonathan Taylor. 13, Ashton Genty. 12, James Cook. 11, Kenneth Walker.
All right. At 15, I have Joe Mixon. At 14, I have Chuba Hubbard. 13, Jonathan Taylor. 12, Kenneth Walker III. And 11, James Conner.
Yeah, so I think the first difference that sticks out, obviously, is I didn't include Chuba Hubbard. The reason why, because I included Ashton Genty.
Yeah, this is kind of where, even though in our last episodes I put, Abdul Carter in at number 15 for my top edge players, I felt as if, one, I do actually kind of need to see it from Ashton Genty before I believe it. So that's why I'm not going to automatically put him there, even though it's probably overwhelmingly likely that he would be in this spot somewhere in going into next season.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chuba Hubbard is an incredible running back, definitely really underrated. He was definitely he'd be like an honorable mention for me. The thing that stuck out when I was looking at the tape with Ashton Genty is just the fact that I know he wasn't playing against competition in, a Power 4 conference, but I just feel like he's so undeniable. Last year, he set a record for PFF with a 96.6 rushing grade and 1,970 yards after contact with 152 missed tackles. This guy refuses to go down. When I watch him, he plays with heart. He plays with passion. He runs harder than the guy trying to tackle him. And so for that reason, I was like, I just got to include him. Last week, you stuck your claim into Abdul Carter, who I also am a big fan of. This is me saying, I believe Ashton Genty can be a top 5 running back at some point in his career.
Which is entirely fair. I don't have anything much to say other than the fact that he hasn't played an NFL game yet. If it wasn't for that, he'd probably be on this list. We can go ahead and knock out Joe Mixon, who we both have at 15. He's efficient. He has high WAR, pretty decent production. Joe Mixon, to me, just has enough grit and consistency to win out against some of the other guys that would have been here, like Breece Hall, Alvin Kamara, David Montgomery. He just beats out those guys for me.
Yeah, well, and for me, a lot of that just boils down to, like I said, the O-line is a tiebreaker for me. Last year, they had pretty much the worst offensive line in the league, and the fact that Joe Mixon was still productive, that matters to me. And also, even dating back to his years with the Bengals, he's never really played with a good offensive line, and he's still been incredibly productive.
That's entirely fair, yeah.
All right, next, because of Ashton Genty, it kind of throws off our ranking for Jonathan Taylor. That's why there's that inconsistency. Why don't you go ahead and talk about Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah, it was a fun comeback season at first glance, but
Yeah,
the advanced metrics were actually
not
pretty
that good.
meh. His
Yeah,
yards per average is not close to his peak, and the cumulative stats are very weighted by the fact that Indianapolis's quarterback play was so atrocious that they just kind of had to throw attempts Jonathan Taylor's way. If he can repeat that previous year and even improve on it, then he would be probably jumping back into my top 10. But at
yeah,
this
for sure.
point, I can't give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I think we're just a little too far removed from that peak season that he had. That it's okay for us to say, like, let's just move him back a little bit until he can do it again. That was my reasoning. The next guy I think we should talk about in this tier is Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, I think, is also incredibly underrated. Last year, he earned a 91.3 rushing grade. His 92.5 cumulative PFF rushing grade over the past 3 seasons ranks third at that position. So from that perspective, he's just an incredibly good player when you add that context. He
But
also had 3.7 yards per carry average last year, which is why he drops a little bit in the rankings.
yeah, that was my biggest thing. I
Yeah,
3.7 yards.
it's not going to
If
cut
you
it.
don't know this, it's pretty abysmal. Like I don't, there's not a single other guy on this list who was really going to be anywhere close to that number. So I'm more so just basing this off of previous success before this year and just cumulatively the
Yeah,
talent that I think he has. Last season
absolutely.
was a relatively poor showing.
Yeah, and context, of course, is important. O line was not that good, but you still have to produce. All right, I think we can talk about James Cook and James Conner when we go on to the next tier. So let's move
Yeah,
on to our
real
top
quick.
10.
I skipped
Oh,
over. We skipped over Chuba Hubbard.
you're right, because I actually don't have him in my list. So go for it.
Yeah, so the reason that I have him making my top 15, and the reason why he's not going to be on many people's top 15s, is the guy literally does not catch the football. In a
Yeah.
world of gadget backs and out of the backfield finesse, Chuba gives the middle finger to all of that. He is ground and pound. He does not.
Yes.
I think he literally had 2 receptions last season. like, so and if this was looking at the running back position purely in terms of just running the ball and not catching it, he'd probably be in the top 10. But
Yeah.
in the modern NFL, not having that as a part of your game entirely keeps him out of there. But we got to give Chuba some love.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to our top 10. Jonathan, why don't you start?
Yeah, at number 10, I have Kyron Williams. At number 9, I have James Cook. At number 8, I have Devon A-Chain. At number 7, I have Bucky Irving. And number 6, I have Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, so I have at number 10, Kyron Williams, 9, Devon A-Chain, 8, James Conner, 7, Christian McCaffrey, and 6, Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, well, we can go ahead and talk about the guy who perfectly lined up here for us, which is
Yep.
Kyron Williams.
Yeah, so last year he was really productive. He had 1,400 yards and generated the fourth highest PFF WAR among all running backs. On top of that, I just think obviously his usage is high and he fits well within that scheme. He's a bit of a gadget back. He can catch out of the backfield as well as run the ball. I think he has great vision, almost elite vision, which is really what sets him apart from a lot of these guys. Um, and he's also surprisingly good at pass blocking, which I think is important when you have uh, Matthew Stafford as your quarterback.
Yeah, what I put down is basically this is a guy, depending on who you ask, is either on the inside of the top 10 or right outside of the top 10. I just kind of met
Yeah.
in the middle and said I'll put him at my number 10. I don't really have many strong feelings about him. This is one of
Mhm.
those things where depending on how much the running back resurgence increases, he could be pushed out. Or, I'm also a little bit hesitant because the Sean McVay system, I think, is so brilliant that it can make a
Yeah.
lot of skill position players look really good. So, but he's done enough for me to have him there.
Yeah, absolutely. Who should we talk about next?
I'll go ahead and give my James Cook take because I had him at
Cool.
number 9, and I believe you had him all the way down at 12.
Hmm.
So I have him higher than most, mainly based on last season. I think he was a genuinely frightening back to play against. He
Hmm.
can ground and pound. He can catch it out of the backfield. He led the league in touchdowns, and he's kind of the sneaky reason why Josh Allen won MVP because it allowed Josh
Hmm.
Allen to like when you had so much stability in the run game last year that Josh Allen was kind of able to run situationally and dominate in the passing game, and James Cook kind of elevated himself to another level. He
Hmm.
probably won't stay here on my list, but I respected last season so much I had to give him an edge.
Yeah, so for me, I kind of use that same reasoning, and I didn't hold it against him. I think I just, properly rated him or ranked him. So for me, when I look at that whole situation with Josh Allen and understanding the context of the team, James Cook, I feel like did enough for them to solidify that run game. And while that's impressive, he's still the 12th best running back in the league, in my opinion. It's not like he had to, like, you didn't need a top 10 top 5 type running back in order to solidify the run game, in order to really truly unlock Josh Allen in a way that we saw last year. On top of that, he did have a lot of touchdowns. He has a lot of upside catching the ball out of the backfield, but his production was a little bit down. And I think that he is in a situation, it's easier to run the ball when you have a mobile quarterback because it's just more options. And so that context kind of bumped him down a little bit on my list.
That's entirely fair. And I also want to note real quick, we keep this real side tangent. I liked how you said unlocked Josh Allen because that's something that you and I agree on that isn't really a popular take. That
Yeah.
Josh Allen, like so many people kind of actually diss Josh Allen's last season and say that Lamar should have been MVP and it was just voter
Yeah.
fatigue. I genuinely think that last season was Josh Allen's best season of his career,
Mhm.
and they were probably the third best team in the NFL behind the Eagles and Chiefs. I mean,
Yeah.
that was an incredible season, and it's kind of just a difference of perspective as to why I put James Cook higher.
Yeah, and to continue this side tangent just for a second, I am one of those big proponents of saying that wins should not be a QB stat, because I think that there's a lot more that comes to winning than just QB play. On that note though, I will say sometimes wins are a QB stat. You just have to watch the game. And when I was watching the Bills last year, I could see that even though Josh Allen's production might have not been the same as a guy like Lamar Jackson or even someone like Joe Burrow, he still, in my mind, impacted winning to a greater degree than those guys last year. And there are advanced stats, like EPA per play and per game, that back that up. But even just the eye test, I would say that that's the case.
That's entirely fair. We can go ahead and move on to a guy that we have pretty much right next to each other, Devon A-Chain.
Yeah, Devon A. Obviously, when you think of Devon A. you think of speed, but he's also an incredibly good at rushing the football. He doesn't do it in like the traditional bruiser style, but he fits perfectly within that McDaniel's offensive scheme. And I think that obviously benefits him a lot. So that kind of takes him down. But for me, it's really just about like the athleticism, the quickness. He also has good production. His rookie season in 2023, he really showed exactly the impact that he can have. He had a little bit of a down year in 2024. I think the whole entire Dolphins as a team had a down year, so I don't necessarily hold that against him. And so just looking at his overall running profile, this is where I ranked him. I think he deserves to be in the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had him even just a bit higher, 8, and I even said that I could even have him higher than Bucky. The one thing is kind of like what you noted is he just he lacks the downhead power and motor
Yeah.
that some of the other guys ahead of him have, but he's also, I think, pretty much undisputed the best pure out of the backfield back. As a receiving back, purely in just
Yes.
that facet of his game, he is the best in the league. And that has
Yeah.
to, and that's really why I have him all the way as high as 8.
Yeah, we'll have to see, how Christian McCaffrey does, but I think that at least as of now, that's a fair statement to make.
Yeah.
How about I talk about James Conner? Because I had him pretty high. I can't remember where you had him, but I have him at 8.
I had him at 11.
Yeah, so for me, I think James Conner is incredibly underrated, and the two things, there's 3 stats that I looked at that put him here, that I guess you could say justified me placing him here after I put him here because I like him and I think he's an incredible running back. First off, in the last 3 seasons, he had a cumulative PFF grade of 92.1. Secondly, his PFF WAR mark in 2024 ranked 7th among all running backs. And then thirdly, he forced 68 missed tackles last season. He's just an incredible running back. I feel like just because he plays for Arizona, he kind of people don't really pay attention to him just based on how the Cardinals have been over the last few seasons. But he's just an incredible running back, great vision, incredible burst and acceleration. He makes guys miss. He kind of has that skill where it's like, I don't know why that guy didn't tackle him, but they, for some reason, just can't. And so for that reason, I had him 8 on my list.
That's fair. And I have him all the way at 10 or at 11, just as a reminder. I'm punishing him for being in too much of a pass-heavy mobile QB scheme, but
Sure.
The guy across his career has not produced enough for me to put him into my top 10. I mean, he's barely cracked
totally
1,000 yards twice in his career. Now, they have been these last 2 years, but again, it's like been barely. It's not even been to 1,100, and here's kind of the kicker. James Conner if I have him at 11, 1 through 10, he is bigger in terms of height and size than literally every single person ahead of him except for Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Which, when we're talking about a running back position, if you're that big and as much of a bruiser, to not be putting up as much as I would like to see in the stat line, that was enough to just barely keep him out of my top 10.
Yeah, that's totally fair. This is really just my salute to James Conner. I really like him as a back. I think he runs the ball well.
When he has a game, it's incredibly fun to watch.
Absolutely. Alrighty, some more guys we can talk about. I think the last one on this is we can talk about Christian McCaffrey. And then we obviously have some other guys in our top 5.
Exactly. I will go ahead and mention about Christian McCaffrey because I have him at 6, you have him at 7. The 2023 season was so good that it was close to pulling enough weight to keep him in my top 5, probably at that 5 spot. But sadly, I have started to lose faith. This seems, number 6 or number 7, we're both right in that range, seems like a pretty appropriate approximation of where the talent and the injury concern evens out.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know, if you've been watching football for the last 3 years, you know who Christian McCaffrey is. He has the talent to be number 1 on this list. He's just too injury prone, and I just don't know how that's going to affect him. It could have, the moment he steps on the field and it doesn't really affect him at all, and he's back to, his previous state, I'll put him where he needs to be. But until he does that, I don't know where he is as of right now. And it's really just as simple as that.
This is really just a rerun, but even more volatile of where we were at with Aiden Hutchinson last time, but it's even worse because of the age on top of the injury, where this is a guy who's talented enough, like you said, to be competing for that number 1 spot. But he also could, availability is the best thing that you can have. And if you don't have that, then where am I supposed to put you? And that's all that needs to be said.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I guess we can move on to our top 5. Okay, so for me, Bucky Irving at number 5, Bijan Robinson at number 4, Jahmyr Gibbs at number 3, Saquon Barkley at number 2, and number 1, I have King Henry, still is the best running back in the league.
Wow. He really did it. That's fair. At number 5, I have Bijan Robinson. At number 4, I have Josh Jacobs. At number 3, I have Jahmyr Gibbs. Number 2, King Henry. And number 1, Saquon.
Yeah. So do you wanna like lead up to that conversation, or do you just want to get it out of the way?
Uh, let's go ahead and get it out of the way. Give the people what they want.
Let's do it. Okay, so go for it. You start.
Okay, Saquon Barkley. He just had the greatest running back season since Adrian Peterson's 2012 MVP season.
Yep.
And I'll note, because you are basing it, I'm assuming someone on this, which is an entirely fair metric because they do good stuff. PFF had a really weird time with their grades when I was looking at it, because Saquon Barkley didn't even like grade in their top 7 in terms of rushing grade. But they kind of had to put him at number 2 because of how good last season was. And I kind of just took the one further step, which was like, yeah, that's the greatest season that I have seen since like while I've been a teenager onwards. I hadn't seen a season that good since I was literally, 9 years old. So what are we doing? I have to put him at number 1.
Yeah. So for me, it really comes down, obviously, when you look at the advanced metrics of last season, they do tell somewhat of a story. And I came into, before I did any research, I knew that I wanted to have Derrick Henry as my 1. The reasoning really just comes down to Derrick Henry did not drop off last year. And I think we would both agree that when we look at the careers of Saquon Barkley, even with that incredible season, and Derrick Henry so far has had a more productive career. And I know that there's context to that.
Let's be clear. It's not even close.
It isn't.
Derrick Henry is the greatest running back of this generation. To be clear, Saquon Barkley, if he retired tomorrow, would not be a Hall of Famer. And it's
Derrick
also
Henry
not
would.
close. Yeah,
right.
And it's
and
for
so
sure.
For me, right, like obviously there's those advanced metrics, right? We have Derrick Henry. He won he was PFF's highest graded rusher at 31 years old. He also had more yards per attempt compared to Barkley, and he forced the most missed tackles and ripped off the second most amount of 10 yards or more runs with 53. So obviously that's there. There's also the context that Saquon Barkley was playing with the greatest offensive line in the league last year. That wasn't really it for me, though. Like, all of those things I think add to my case, but the thing that really convinced me, and the reason why I came into this conversation saying Derrick Henry is the best running back in the league, is because of I guess you could say the historical precedent of their 2 careers. The fact that Derrick Henry didn't drop off is impactful to me. It's kind of like when Tom Brady was near, not the end of his career, but like where people thought it was the end of his career. And people would still say that he's like the best football or quarterback, even though you look at the metrics, maybe he didn't have the best season, but you still have to rank him number 1 because he hasn't dropped off even in his old age.
Well, I guess I'm being a little bit hypocritical here because I do agree with you. I think that's how Mahomes should be discussed.
Exactly.
Let me boil this down, because I think what you're saying basically is Derrick Henry entered last season at number 1, and he didn't do anything to deserve to be knocked down from number 1. I just think, from my perspective, and again, it is so close, Barkley did enough to overtake him. It wasn't as if Derrick Henry dropped whatsoever.
Yeah, so for me, I don't even think I'll be honest with you, I don't even think it's that close because, again, Saquon Barkley had this incredible season, but for my criteria of saying who is the best running back in football right now, looking at previous seasons matters within that conversation. And so because of that, again, it's just like how you talked about with Patrick Mahomes. It's just like how I talked about with Tom Brady, where it's you add in the legend of Tom Brady plus the fact that even though he's not as good, he's still incredible and had the second best season of any player within the NFL. You combine those things, and then you look at the advanced metrics and see that Derrick Henry had more rushing yards per carry, that he had more he created more missed tackles, that he's still
the missed tackles one is crazy.
Yeah, that he's still this massive, huge running back that could be playing defensive line, and yet he still is somehow stronger, faster than you, the most athletically gifted. All of those things to me point clearly to the fact that Derrick Henry is still the number one running back in the league. That is not to take away from Saquon Barkley. Next year, Saquon Barkley could have a great season, and Derrick Henry could fall off because he is 31 years old. But I feel like until Derrick Henry just drops off the face of the earth, or it's not even that. When Derrick Henry has a season that isn't top 5, that's when we can say like, okay, these other guys are starting to catch up with him.
Entirely
but
fair.
He had the second best season in the league. Like
yeah,
he was that dominant.
It's kind of just a difference of perspective. Yeah, because I really don't disagree with any of your reasoning whatsoever. I just kind of had a different criteria. Because again, to restate it, Derrick Henry's the greatest running back of this generation. He's right now the only active running back in the NFL who will be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Unless there's like some like RB2, like some backup guy like that. I'm just not blanking off the top of my head.
That's what I'm trying to think of. Like I can't think of any.
There's no one else who's on our list right now who, if they retired tomorrow, is a Hall of Famer, which is kind of crazy to think about how far the running back position has fallen for that to be the case.
Yeah.
But I think we've appropriately covered our 1 and 2 debate. Why don't we back it up a bit and talk about your guy who you sneak into the top 5, Bucky Irving. I had him down at 7.
Yeah, so Bucky Irving, I know it was one season, but I just love him, to be honest. This is a little bit of bias, and also there are, I think, metrics to back this up. Last year, he had a 90 PFF grade, or rushing grade. He had 62 forced missed tackles, and he led the NFL with 3.93 yards after contact per attempt. One of the reasons his production wasn't entirely there compared to the rest of the guys on this list, there's context to that. He was sharing the backfield. But in my mind, he also posted a 90.2 PFF receiving grade, which was the second highest mark at that position. When I watch him, he is a complete back. He literally does everything. I would go so far as to say that he could potentially be the most complete back when you balance rushing and receiving in the NFL right now after his rookie season. And
if you take CMC out of the equation, then he's yes.
So that matters to me, and I know it's a smaller sample size, but this is a small sample size sport, and so for that reason, he snuck into my top 5.
It is a small sample size sport, and I don't disagree with anything you said. It's really just a thing of, at the end of the day, I'm still with the caveat of the Christian McCaffrey injury. I'm not taking him above any of the guys who were, who were there. Yeah. Christian McCaffrey, Bijan, Josh Jacobs, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. Like, I can't pull him ahead of any of those guys. But the amount of production that he had relative to not coming into the season being RB1, and that, like, the scheme was not built around Bucky Irving last year whatsoever, really. It was really actually built around Baker Mayfield and being kind of like, even though it was a Liam Cohen offense, but it kind of felt like shades of Bruce Arians, a West Coast air raid. And Bucky Irving was still putting up the numbers that he did. This is no knock against Bucky Irving whatsoever. He's undisputed top 10. And if he builds on that production, he will be in my top 5.
Yeah. I was definitely projecting a little bit here.
Which is fair.
I know
you are allowed to do that.
I wanted to. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and talk about Bijan Robinson. I have him at my 5. Okay. You have him at my 4. Bijan Robinson, really the only guy that for me, that is arguably, obviously, because he's just right in front of him, is Josh Jacobs to potentially sneak him into my 4. He has the talent of a top 3 guy and could 100%. Easily wind up there at the end of the season. We've seen all of the tools in the tool bag. He actually led the league in WAR last season, but I will say I don't have some stats degree, but I'm familiar enough with advanced metrics in sports to know that football WAR is very finicky, and that's being
It is.
decently weighted by how atrocious the Atlanta scheme and quarterback play was, to where he was put in situations that allowed him to rack up WAR more than the typical back would, the guys that are in
Yeah.
front of him. All of that being said, though, it's kind of where I just need to see, like, I want Bijan Robinson to be at the number 2, number 3, number 4 spot. I just need to kind of see it all come together.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I really don't have anything to add. I think that the, obviously the scheme that Atlanta runs, it's run heavy. And, but even if that's the case, you still have to at least have somewhat of an effective pass offense, or else, because guess what? Defenses also know that it's run heavy and they're able to scheme around that. And if they don't have to allocate like any resources at all to the pass because Kirk Cousins just could not recover from that Achilles injury, what are you going to do? It's just a bad
Yeah.
situation. And so hopefully that gets better with Michael Penix and we'll really get to see Bijan Robinson at full form.
And then we do have to mention the guy who I have at my 4, Josh Jacobs. Did you have him at your 6?
Yes. I did.
Okay. So I have Josh Jacobs higher than potentially some would. It's obviously it's relatively close. Most people probably wouldn't put Josh Jacobs in their top 5 if they've named running backs off the top of their head. But to me, he's the total package, kind of similar to Bucky Irving, but he's more established and has more experience under his belt, where he can ground and pound and do it out of the backfield. I give the slight edge. Like, I'm really high on Josh Jacobs. I only gave the slight edge to Jahmyr Gibbs because he's younger and he has more of a motor. But I think that people, because of the situations that he's been, do not have enough appreciation for the type of loads that Josh Jacobs can put on his shoulder.
Yeah. So when I first started ranking this, I put Josh Jacobs at number 4. I moved him though simply because I decided I wanted to just take a stance on Bijan Robinson, and specifically Bucky Irving is really the difference there. And so that was really just me projecting and saying, like, they're younger backs. They have not like similar production, but, and this is probably an inconsistency with my list, but for me, the tiebreaker for those two guys and Josh Jacobs really was just, I think that next year they're going to have a great year. And if we're grading on what they are now, what we think they will do in 2025, I think matters. And so for that reason, I had him down. There's nothing bad to say about Josh Jacobs. He's incredibly balanced. He's also up there as being one of the most balanced backs in the league, like you said. He's incredible, very underrated. All mad respect to Josh Jacobs because he does incredible work in Green Bay.
All right. Well, our perfect lineup that we had the closest to the highest point on this list is Jahmyr Gibbs at number 3. Lay your Jahmyr Gibbs love on me.
Listen, what else? What is there to say about Jahmyr Gibbs? He's a freak of nature, right? Like the nickname Sonic and Knuckles. He is Sonic. He's incredibly fast. He's a monster play waiting to happen. He is the type of back that defenses are scared of, because like he makes some guys miss. He'll outrun you. If he gets a little, like the smallest lane, he will hit that gap incredibly quickly, incredibly fast. This is not the type of back that you as like a defensive lineman can just like shed your guy and get on. Like, you have to beat them from the start or else he's going to run by you. That's, and the other thing that's really impressive to him, or for me, is that he, like, when I was watching the tape and as I've seen Jahmyr Gibbs, the thing that always impresses me the most is his ability to shed arm tackles, because for guys of his, I guess you could say, build and I don't even know the right term, but of his style, frame, genre of running back.
Yeah.
The biggest weakness is always like, well, if you get a hand on him, they're going to come down. There's
Yes.
some big guys who get their hand on him and he doesn't come down and he's able to shed that. And so that's why he was so high on my list.
I agree with everything you said. The one thing that I will add is if we go based off of to speak to how good I think Jahmyr Gibbs is and can be, let's use something that I like to call the dad metric. And the dad metric is your dad watching football. And he thinks of Christian McCaffrey, right? Obviously, we have the perspective of the injury concern keeps him out of there. But your dad watching football thinks of Christian McCaffrey as a top 3 guy who can do it all. You know, he's strong, he's fast, he can run up the middle, he can catch the ball in the backfield. Jahmyr Gibbs is good enough to, by the end of next year, supplant Christian McCaffrey in that position as like the dad household name, where it's like your dad sees a Lions highlight during the halftime of whatever, you know, team he supports and goes, man, that Jahmyr Gibbs sure is something. Like, like he has the ability and the talent to be that type of household name alongside Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, which is a pretty impressive feat to potentially be in that tier.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say to add fuel to the fire of what I was talking about before, last year he ranked top 5 in forced missed tackles with 68 and runs of 10 yards or more with 46. And so he's just the complete package. Jahmyr Gibbs is amazing.
We love Jahmyr. I think we cooked with our list. Obviously, mine is slightly better, but
no. Okay. I was right when it comes to the whole Derrick Henry conversation. Like
I you are winning me over. I just in the moment I was just thinking about it, and it was kind of like karmic payback for myself because of how much I was hating on Saquon Barkley going into last season and the Super Bowl, where I was like, I can't, like, I gotta give him props. It was like, it wasn't a fun time going against him.
No, absolutely not. Alrighty, ready to move on to our linebackers?
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about a position that's really hard to rank.
Dude, this is just like whatever, guys. Like, don't ask me to give you a strong opinion. Like,
I have Leo Chanel at my number 3.
Dude, Logan Wilson, the best linebacker in football. Alrighty, guys, let's just jump straight into it. So at number 15, I have Patrick Queen, 14, Frankie Louvu, 13, Blake Cashman, 12, Quincy Williams, and 11, Nick Bolton.
Yeah, at 15, I have Frankie Louvu. At 14, I'm having to read through to remember what I ranked, because at this point, I was just like, I was throwing darts. At 15, Frankie Louvu. At 14, Patrick Queen. 13, TJ Edwards. 12, Blake Cashman. And 11, Edgerrin Cooper.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you want to start? We can talk about Frankie Louvu and Patrick Queen because we just have them inverse.
Yep, let's do it.
Both of these guys are really, really good, right? Both of them are incredible run defenders and great with the blitz. Last year, I think that Patrick Queen just had not as good of a season as Frankie Louvu, and that was my tiebreaker. It really was just as simple as that.
Yeah, and that was kind of like the inverse of my tiebreaker, which is the 2 seasons that Patrick Queen had in
Before
Baltimore,
that with Baltimore
were good enough for me to edge him. Like, it still almost feels low for how good I think Patrick Queen is, but this is around the range you'd be. That's the slight edge to Frankie Louvu. My thoughts on Louvu, who I have at my 15, are, I mean, he was kind of, it's kind of one of those things where he was, and this is, I don't know who it says more about, Frankie Louvu or the Commanders. He was like one of the bright spots of the Commanders defense last season, which isn't really that great, but we're giving Frankie Louvu love out on the show, folks. Let's give a hand.
Let's go. Friend of the show, Frankie Louvu.
Friend of the show.
All right, let's move on. We can talk about, how about Blake Cashman, just because he's next. He's really good. He's one of those guys where I can kind of understand. He was like putting him back because of the scheme he's in with Brian Flores. Like he excelled last year against or in his pass rush grade. Um, and he was just great in the run defense. The season before with Houston, he was better against the pass, and he kind of took a little bit of a step back. But I just think he's overall a great running back, great linebacker, plays with a lot of heart, lots of passion. You can see it on the tape. Yeah, 13 Blake Cashman.
Yeah, and now obviously I actually have him at 12, slightly ahead of you. Some people might even put Cashman higher. The thing for me was kind of a slight little red alert, and this, Blake Cashman is a great linebacker. To go from a Houston defensive scheme where you were so great, and then to go to a Brian Flores scheme, who I think is so brilliant, and actually somewhat take a step back, was a little like,
Yeah.
That's a bit interesting. Although, he, as a blitzing linebacker, is very good and fun to watch. So nothing bad to say about Blake Cashman. I have him at my 12.
Awesome. All right, I think we can move on because the other guys that we have here are going to be coming up.
Okay, perfect. We will go ahead and talk about them.
All right, start off with your top 10.
At number 10, I have Nick Bolton. At number 9, Quincy Williams. Number 8, Bobby Okereke. 7, Dre Greenlaw.
I'm sorry,
you got a problem? You got a problem?
I'm pretty sure it's a Korake, but whatever.
I don't care. I saw it the first time that I ever saw his name years ago, and I go, Okereke. I'm sorry, friend of the show, Okereke. Number 7, Dre Greenlaw, and number 6, Jack Campbell.
Awesome. So at number 10, I have TJ Edwards, 9, Edrin Cooper, 8, Jack Campbell, 7, Bobby Okorike, and 6, Devin Lloyd.
It's like tomato, folks.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty much the same. Alrighty. Where do you want to start? I can talk about TJ Edwards because I think you had him before.
I did. I had TJ Edwards all the way at my 13. So decent difference.
Yeah. So TJ Edwards is an incredibly balanced linebacker. The reason why he's lower on my list and probably Jonathan's is because he took a little bit of a step back last season. But the seasons before that, he just had really good seasons. When you watch him, you can see he has great vision. He takes great angles, and he's really good at keeping his eye on the quarterback and kind of reading that. I saw a couple plays where he was just really good at anticipating the throw, catching it, or meeting his guy or the running back or whoever it is in the flat. And so that was impactful to me. So that's why he landed at number 10 for me. It really was just like, well, I'm telling you, with all these guys, it was like, I just watched them play and I'm like, that seems where they should be.
Yeah, the reason I had him all the way at 13 is I am probably subconsciously punishing him based on expectations, because going into last season, that Bears defense was supposed to do so much and kind of help out Caleb Williams and that offense, and they really did the opposite of it, to the point it was kind of peaks and valleys with the Bears defense. And so because of how poor he played last season, I mean, it was pretty bad. He earned a 60 PFF grade. It was the lowest of his career. Based with where my expectations were, I kind of heavily dinged him. That's all it was.
Yeah. Sounds good. Do you want to talk about your guy, Nick Bolton?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about my guy, Nick Bolton. And to be clear, you had him at your 11, right? So
yeah,
so it's not really pretty much neck and neck. I slip him into my top 10 just because I'm a Glazer. I'm a Chiefs lover. I fiend for Nick Bolton. One of the highlights of a Sunday for me is waking up and knowing I get to watch Nick Bolton play the linebacker position.
He is undeniably fun to watch. He is.
Oh, yes. And it's one of those things to where, and I'm not putting him higher than some of these names that are ahead of him are really great. Nick Bolton's really fun to watch and deserved the extension that he got. He's also just 25 years old, and linebacker is a position almost unique from it's kind of linebacker and the trenches that kind of mature with age. It's like a fine wine. Like a linebacker gets better with age, and so or the good ones do. And so Nick Bolton still has so much room for growth. To see what we have seen already as he's just turning 25 is enough for me to slip him into my top 10. And he owns, since he's come into the league, so it's not just this season, because it sounds weird because it's 12th highest, but that's not, but it's even better relatively. Since he's come into the league, he has the 12th highest run stop rate. That's pretty impressive.
9%. Yeah. Absolutely. Nick Bolton is one of those guys. He's incredible against the run, and he is, like for me, I rank a lot of these guys high sometimes because of how good the defense is, because of the role that the linebacker plays on defenses. Nick Bolton is the organizer of that team, and he's the guy who, that is the communicator between Spagnuolo and the rest of the defense. And so for me, it's one of those things where it's like,
he's the mic. Nick Bolton has that defense on his shoulders.
Yeah. And so when you see how successful the Chiefs defense are, or if defense is, obviously there are guys that are, ahead of him in terms of like defensive all position rankings or whatever. But even still, he is a strong leader of that defense, and it's a really, really good defense. And on top of that, he's incredible against the run. The reason why he's not higher is because, he has work to do when it comes to pass defense, but there's nothing really bad to say about Nick Bolton.
Entirely fair.
Alrighty. I think I'm going to talk about, did you have Edgerrin Cooper in your last one?
I did. Edgerrin Cooper came in at my 11, so just outside.
Yeah, so for me, Edgerrin Cooper, obviously there's a lot of context to the situation. The first one is last year he was a rookie, so I can understand not having him as high. The other thing too is that he came in with an injury, and that limited his snaps overall. But once he came back, he lit it up. So last year, after his return from injury, he had a 91.3 PFF overall grade from week 15 onward, which led the NFL. On top of that, again, he's incredibly balanced. He's great at taking the right angle, at filling the gap, at tackling the running back, or just tackling in general. And he's also great in coverage. And so just everything mixed together, this is kind of where he led. And I'm also landed, and I'm also projecting a little bit because I think that next year he will, without a doubt on everyone's list, be a top 10 linebacker.
Yeah, if not even close to top 5. If we were grading this just based on his last quarter of the season when he came back from that missed time due to injury, he would easily be in my top 10 and probably up there like 7 or 8. With the combination of rookie and, it's a small sample size sport, as you and I love to say, but the sample size is so small due to him both being a rookie and missing time that I had him just outside of my top 10. This is a guy who's great and going to be there.
Absolutely. Okay, who's next?
Do you have Quincy Williams outside of your top 10?
I do. He's my number 12.
Okay. I have him, all the way up at 9. I think, it wasn't the greatest Quincy Williams season last year with the Jets. He did still receive All-Pro honors, he received All-Pro honors in 2023, which I'm weighing a lot, and he's still grading high in all of the advanced metrics. I also think that Jets defense was just kind of a locker room dumpster fire throughout the entirety of last season. And so it's not even projection, because I'm not projecting he'll take a next step. I'm just projecting that
return to normalcy.
Return to normalcy under Aaron Glenn will be occurring.
Absolutely.
And if Quincy Williams is Quincy Williams, then he's a top 10 linebacker for me.
Absolutely. That is undeniable. The reason why I had him at 12, 1, because of Nick Bolton love, 2, because of Edgerrin Cooper love, and then finally, just because your reasoning for why you bumped TJ Edwards down is the same reason why I bumped Quincy Williams down. The concept of the Jets had this incredible defense on paper. It was supposed to kind of lead them to, whatever, and it just didn't really work out that well. And so for me, that kind of bumped him down a little bit, but if you like, I'm not mad at having him in his top 10. He's an incredible linebacker.
Yeah, you're using my logic against me, you sneaky
Absolutely.
evil man. Let's talk about a guy who I have at 8, you have at 7. Go ahead and say his name for me, Adam.
Bobby Okereke. I actually have no idea. What if you're right and I just look like an idiot?
We'll just run with what you're saying. Go ahead and give me
Okay.
your take.
Yeah, so last year, um, he was injured. He had a herniated disc injury. And so that ended his season early. And so I think that a lot of people just kind of put him back in their mind. But he is overall just incredibly consistent throughout his career. And I guess dual threat, just overall holistically a great linebacker. He doesn't have one particular strength, but he also doesn't have one particular weakness. And in my mind, compared to a lot of the guys behind him, that's kind of what we're looking at, where they might be really good at one thing, but they're not necessarily that good at another thing. Where Bobby Okereke is just great, above average, good, solid, won't ruin your defensive scheme at pretty much every aspect of the game. And so I get it if you drop him down a little bit because of his injury last year. Obviously, a herniated disc is a big deal when you're playing a contact sport, but that's why I had him as high as 7.
Yeah. Again, I had him right around that range. It's really
Yeah.
impressive how consistent he is at the linebacker position, considering how volatile it is grading that position from an advanced metric standpoint.
Yeah.
He's earned 3 straight seasons of a 73 PFF grade, or higher, 73 or higher, which, even though that sounds low, that's actually really impressive for a linebacker to be able to do. And yeah, he's one of those guys to where it's kind of the inverse of some of these guys that we talk about, to where he probably never will be top 5, but it's going to be a
Yeah.
while before he drops out of our top 10, top 15.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next up, Jack Campbell. Want to talk about Jack Campbell? I have him at 8. You have him all the way at 6.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
So honestly, looking back, I kind of regret putting him there. I feel like I probably should have put him above some of the really the 2 guys ahead of him. Campbell is incredible. Last year, he put that Lions defense on his back. His rookie season, he was really like the biggest strength of his was stopping the run. This season, he took a lot of steps forward in terms of pass defense. And you just look at it, just watch the game, watch the Lions play, and you could see that Jack Campbell was an anchor of that Aaron Glenn defense. And so that's why he's this high. He's an incredibly gifted tackler. He's incredibly smart. You can see him reading the play, reading the quarterback, reading against the run game, picking up on the tells within the offensive line, those types of things. And so that's why he's clearly top 10. He is one of those guys where I could see him being top 5 next year.
Yeah, 2 notes on Jack Campbell. One is what he was able to do to just try and hold it together. And in terms of the overall Lions defense, didn't even necessarily succeed, but the injuries were so incredible that for him, because it's kind of the inverse of what I was talking about with running backs. And it's really kind of the inverse between defense and offense. As an offensive skill position player, when another person or aspect of the offense goes down or is poor or gets injured, you actually have a higher chance to elevate yourself. In the defense, when the guys around you are lower, you're being put in more positions to be made a fool out of. Like,
yes, absolutely.
You're being put in more
true.
positions for you to fail. And for Jack Campbell's advanced metrics to be as high as they were, with, I believe, over 600 snaps, he was the 4th highest linebacker of anyone with 600 or more snaps in terms of his PFF grade. Then yeah, Jack Campbell's a guy who will be vying for a top 5 spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add fuel to that fire, remember where the Lions' injuries were. It was all on the defensive line. And, especially in run fits, obviously the position has evolved, but at least traditional thinking is that the defensive line's main goal is just basically to occupy space and blocks and create lanes for the linebackers to run through. He wasn't playing with a lot of, of their starters. And so the fact that he was still able to do that was incredible.
Alrighty, let's go ahead and talk about.
Do you have Devin Lloyd in your top 5? Or did you already have him?
I know I do have Devin Lloyd, so we can go ahead and move on to our top 5.
Let's do it. Alrighty. So let me just start off. Number 5, Dre Greenlaw. Number 4, Roquan Smith. Number 3, Zach Bond. Number 2, Bobby Wagner. Number 1, Fred Warner.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Number 5, Devin Lloyd. Number 4, Roquan Smith. Number 3, Zach Bond. Number 2, Bobby Wagner. Number 1, Fred Warner. Wow, this is the most we've ever lined up on the list.
There we go.
Let's just then go ahead and get the differences out of the way at our number 5 spot. Sure. If you want to hit Dre Greenlaw, who I have at my 7.
Yeah. So first off, Devin Lloyd is a really incredible linebacker. For me, Dre Greenlaw, I think, has just done enough to, surpass him and still be a top 5 linebacker in the league. He's incredible. I mean, what else is there to say? He is clearly, if it wasn't for his injury, he would clearly be considered a top 5 linebacker in the league, according to really anyone who knows ball. His profile, he's one of the best coverage linebackers in the league. He's incredible in the hook to curl concept. He's incredible at reading the eyes of the quarterback, incredible at, his speed and his quickness and his ability to, the first hitch and he's going to the flat to make that tackle. He was a part of one of the greatest defenses within the last 5 to 10 years. And so he was a big part of that. If it wasn't for the injury, I'm sure he'd be higher on your list, Jonathan. I'm sure he'd be higher on a lot of people's list. I think that he'll be able to recover, and he's going to be a staple for that Denver Broncos defense.
Injury. That's it. Basically missing an entire season, plus a little bit of weird PR stuff dinged him somewhat, but Dre Greenlaw has the talent to be absolutely a top 5 guy and close to a top 3 guy. I'll go ahead and hit Devin Lloyd. That may be an interesting pull for some people to put him on my 5. It's really just because it's kind of the same reason why I love Nick Bolton, where is he as well-rounded as some of the other guys? Sure. But man, he can stop the run. I believe he is the only linebacker in the NFL with a certain amount of snaps to have as high of a combined run defense grade and tackling grade, going by PFF grades. So it's just kind of one of those things where if Devin Lloyd gets his hands on you, you're not going anywhere. It's as simple as that. Finisher. And it's not as well-rounded, obviously, as Dre Greenlaw, but I had to give some Devin Lloyd love.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm going to talk about Roquan Smith. Really, his placement just boils down to the excellence that Zach Bond put on tape last year. He would be a top 3 linebacker in the league if it wasn't for that. Roquan Smith, last year he struggled a little bit, but he did a lot better whenever Kyle Hamilton switched back to his regular position, that of safety. Makes sense. Kyle Hamilton is an incredibly versatile safety, and when they're able to stack the box, it just frees up a lot of Roquan Smith's play. He's good against coverage. He's good against the run. He's one of those guys where it's just watch him play. You'll see, this guy is an incredible tackler. He's clearly the leader of that defense. He understands football. He gets his guys in the right position, and he just plays ferociously. And so for that reason, he's top 4.
Yeah, to be clear, I think we would both agree that from 4 onward, it's not that they are all the same tier, not even close. We'll get to that with Fred Warner, but these are all 4 guys who should be called elite.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's kind of where the cutoff is. I don't really have much more to say on Roquan Smith. He is elite. That's where he should be.
Why don't you, since you're such a big fan of the Eagles, why don't you talk about Zach Bond?
All right, man. Settle down there.
Dude, Fangio did it again, man.
He really did. Vic Fangio, enemy of the show.
Not friend of the show. I love his scheme.
But sneaky love. It's kind of like an enemies to lovers scenario with me and Vic Fangio.
Oh, okay.
Don't act so odd. Christian Wilkins is also a friend of the show, coincidentally. Zach Bond easily could be number 2. For me, I think you and I probably have the same logic here. It's kind of similar to the Derrick Henry logic, even though I didn't use it.
It's the exact same logic.
It's the exact same logic, even though, I'm being a bit hypocritical.
100%. Classic Jonathan.
Obviously, I'm two-faced. I love to talk out of both sides of my mouth to spin whatever narrative I want to.
Absolutely.
It was the highest grade and the best season of his career by far. He was top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year, which is insane for a linebacker to be there. He will be, if he repeats that season, he will actually be, what's so funny?
Dude, I'm just thinking, what does the Saints have to do to a man for him to leave and become and have the greatest linebacker season in the league?
Oh my God.
What were they doing?
They were like
practically a practice squad guy on that team, and then he goes to the Eagles and is just like the greatest linebacker in the league.
They were like microdosing him arsenic, like someone in like the dietary regimen, like his weight coach, his strength coach, like was trying to kill him. No, if Zach Bond,
I just randomly had that thought.
No, that's entirely fair.
That's crazy.
If Zach Bond has another season like this last one, he will actually be in Fred Warner conversations, which is a sentence that shouldn't be possible at this point.
Dude, Zach Bond, this is it's just I really just love the story though too. Just the fact that he was like on the Saints for so long, like nothing, no production, barely getting any playing time. And then he comes to the Eagles, becomes a starter, and then just blows up. It's ridiculous. It's so awesome.
And he got a $51 million extension. The man is living large.
He sure did. Zach Bond, friend of the show. All right, Bobby Wagner is incredible, right? Always has been incredible from his days to Seattle, winning a Super Bowl with the Rams, and then now as the anchor of the Commanders defense. He's incredible. It's the same logic as the Derrick Henry. You look at his career, he's a Hall of Fame linebacker, and he hasn't really dropped off. And so for that reason, he's number 2.
And the thing is, and because I believe that we both differed with PFF, where we put Bobby ahead of Zach Bond. I believe they put Zach Bond number 2.
Okay.
I
PFF enemy of the show.
Enemy of the show. I actually pretty thoroughly disagree with that because Bobby Wagner was so good last season, and based on the entirety of his career, the fact that he hasn't dropped off whatsoever,
crazy.
I don't see how just purely one season, and I know this sounds hypocritical to my Saquon Barkley, but Saquon Barkley across the entirety of his career has shown more than Zach Bond did. Literally one season. We know how special Saquon Barkley is even before last season. So it's a pretty unanimous Bobby Wagner at number 2 for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Fred Warner. Sorry. Fred Warner, number 1 linebacker in the league. This is not a conversation.
Nope.
It just isn't.
Fred Warner has, I think, we can name all of the, listen up, folks. We can name all of the advanced metrics. We can name all of his career accolades, his defensive All-Pros, his Pro Bowls. But there's really one metric that matters, which is that Fred Warner was chosen by me in an episode of Two Down Territory to be the player whose highlights you watch at the end of the show.
Absolutely.
And that means that he is the best, and that alone.
Listen, guys, just watch him play.
Watch him. Just watch him.
Like, I don't know if he's as good as Luke Kuechly in this aspect of his game, but he reminds me of Luke Kuechly when I watch him read. But I don't know. That's a conversation that we'll have to have later. That was crazy. Get that white boy out of here. But in terms of being able to read the offense and just know where they're going, especially in pass coverage, he is the best pass coverage linebacker. He is incredibly fast. He can stick with a lot of wide receivers and tight ends. He organizes the defense. He's the anchor of that defense. And he is overall the greatest linebacker in the NFL right now.
He's also just
no doubt in my mind. It's just not even a question.
Let's be clear. He has the mental capacity, obviously. He's also a heat-seeking missile. He also locks onto people and has one mission: kill. He's a machine with the singular focus. He's the goddamn Terminator, okay? Like, Fred Warner.
It's Fred freaking Warner, guys. Get it through your heads.
Get that in your skull, folks.
Okay. Well, once again, I cooked you in terms of making a rankings.
Although we unanimously cooked with our top 4.
Absolutely. There's just no debate. Alrighty, ladies and gents, it's time for some games. Starting off, we're going to be grading some awful NFL jerseys. Every offseason, there are new jerseys that come out. Some are awesome, some are terrible, and we're going to be looking at the terrible ones. So let's grade these awful NFL jerseys. First up, we got the 2025 throwback Steeler jersey. It kind of seems like the Steelers are back at it again with the terrible throwbacks. What are your thoughts, Jonathan?
I'm going to have... It's not even that hot of a take. The Bumblebee jerseys were obviously way worse than this.
For sure.
And so... And I'm looking at them right now, and this is not planned whatsoever. I'm kind of messing with the vibe. Like, I'm kind of picking up what they're putting down. I'm kind of picking it up.
Way. No, it's really the pants for me.
The pants are atrocious.
Think that yellow and black kind of work. Like, these remind me of like the what was it, Iowa State or whatever, college pants that looks like guys are naked.
The Iowa State. No, they're not good. The pants are bad.
It's reminiscent of those. Other than that, it honestly really isn't that bad. Because I think the color scheme works. I really like the helmet, actually. I just don't get the pattern. I just think that it's weird.
The pattern,
to be honest.
I'm not saying that these are some artistic stroke of genius. I just think that these have been overhated on. And I also think that, like, I'm also just a big fan of, like, the bright mustard with football gear. Like, you can see with my cup right here with the Chiefs yellow. Like, sometimes flashing the mustard yellow is kind of a vibe. So these aren't like it relative to other alternate jerseys. It's still like a C, but it's by no means an F for me.
Yeah, I would say a C. I think if we're grading, if C is the highest we would give, I think that I know the ones that are coming up. I think a C makes sense.
All I need to know is that you cannot be wearing these in Gotham City because you will be destroyed by then. They're just so identical.
Funny, where Hines Ward is like, it's so good. Okay, next one, the 2024 Giants jersey. It's the same pants, dude.
I had a physical reaction to seeing those, man. Like, I recoiled in my chair looking at those.
Imagine you're a Giants fan.
I hadn't even thought about those.
Yeah, you have to watch Danny Dimes throw the football, and you turn on the TV on Sunday. And this is what they have put out for you to enjoy. These atrocious, boxy, weird Giants jerseys with like the Michigan pattern helmet. It's just weird.
What I'll say right now is that this they look like indoor football jerseys, which means that it actually looks appropriate for Daniel Jones to be wearing them. Like, this looks like the type of jersey that is appropriate for Daniel Jones to be wearing. He should be wearing this, dude.
Wait, real quick. What would be the team name for those jerseys?
I don't know, man. X-Force. Magneto. This looks like Magneto from like 50s X-Men's comics.
Or like Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, but like worse. Like Spider-Man if he was hideous. If it was Man Spider instead of Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked like the Vancouver Spider-Man.
The Vancouver Spider-Man. That's it right there. This is the Vancouver Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, they get an F. These are terrible. All right, next up, we got the 2016 Jaguars jerseys. How are you feeling these?
When I said I'm a fan of the mustard, I didn't mean Dijon.
Or like the honey mustard.
I wasn't looking for some spicy brown honey mustard.
I am not the biggest fan of gradient. I feel like
gradient is
these
horrible.
Helmets suck. It's not even two colors that like work. Like I'm not saying they don't work well together, but they don't blend together. So like doing a gradient with black and gold, it just like
it's terrible.
It just looks weird.
Well, it just
looks weird.
I'll objectively take the Vancouver Spider-Man helmets above these. Like at least there's something. At least there's a pattern. Not like you took two color boxes in Photoshop, took the blend tool and went whoop.
That's exactly what this looks like.
Shot Khan's,
it's as if like
Shot Khan's like 11-year-old daughter designed this on her iPad.
I was just about to say it was like one of those like like paint by numbers where you could choose the colors and the options were black and gold and they just filled in the different random patterns.
Some Make-A-Wish kid in Jacksonville, his final dream was to make.
I'm just imagining like Blake Bortles showing up to the hospital. Oh my gosh.
It's my one dream. I'm the world's biggest Jags fan, and I'm also a passionate graphic designer.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. F. Let's move on. Okay. Next, we got the 2014 Packers jerseys.
Once again
with the weird beige pants.
The pants are the downfall of this. If the pants were just the same navy blue as the jerseys, I would put these as high as like a B. I actually mess with this is the let's throw the pants out of the equation. This is a throwback jersey that actually looks like just a throwback while being modern equipment.
It's not bad. I'll say that. Just looking at the jersey, it's not bad. But when you combine it with the uniform, it's just like why ruin it? You know, I'm wondering if
at that point actually just be a throwback and go out and wear khakis.
Are they like that would be so funny.
That would be awesome.
Khaki pants.
Yeah.
They have like a chain. They have like a chain from their pocket to their little belt loop.
Pulling out old pocket watch.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, these are not bad. I think like a C because the pants really ruin it for them.
Like a C+.
Pretty similar to the Steelers. Yeah. Okay, these are I really hate these. The 2009 Broncos. Oh my god, look at the socks, dude.
So the problem is that if there are any Wyoming fans out there, college football Wyoming fans, they're like, what are you talking about? These are incredible.
I hate brown and yellow. Like
Whoa.
That is just not Shut up, dude.
2-for-1 combo.
Shut up, dude. But like brown and yellow, just like I can't even say it now. Since you went there, I can't even give my opinion.
No, they're bad. That's all that needs to be said. Okay, I will say the literal only redeeming part of these is, again, because it's a throwback, I kind of like the retro font, like the complete plain font for the numbers on the to be on the helmet numbers, to be clear. Those are fun, but nothing else. This is
those are two colors that I would categorize as gross.
Now,
there's no redeeming factor.
I still would take this over the Vancouver Spider-Man, but
I don't know, man. I really don't like this color scheme.
That's fair. I think it's just because
I give it like a D, F,
like a D minus. I'm enough of like a college football sicko to where I just watch everything, and so I've watched a lot of Wyoming games, and so I'm just kind of used. If you don't watch any Wyoming or college football, like you're not used to seeing these color schemes on a football jersey, then it probably looks really shocking. Like my brain is slightly used to it.
Yeah. So Jonathan, did you just come out as a Josh Allen fan?
You know me. You know I was grinding that Josh Allen tape.
All right, finally we got the new 2025 Chargers jerseys. How are you feeling?
Piss.
That's the first word that comes to your mind.
Yeah. Like I need to use the restroom now. No, they don't look. Okay, here's the problem though. The pants should be the color of Herbert's like socks and arm sleeve. If that was the case, it wasn't the all yellows, I would actually kind of mess with these. But the all yellows are not good because they're not like mustard, they're like neon.
I want to say they released like a white version.
That would probably be great too. Anything but the yellow pants.
Yeah. Chargers 2025. I'm Googling it because I want to know. Because like they released another jersey along with it that looks like really cool. But then they released this too, and it's just like what are you? It's just too bright for me. And I honestly think that this might be a little bit of a hot take. I think that I can't find them, but whatever. I think like a lot of people probably like these jerseys. Like I can kind of see the appeal. They're just not for me. Maybe that makes me like an old head or whatever, but they're just so bright. They remind me of the colors like back in the day when we were in 5th grade and we would wear like knee socks that were like bright pink and bright green and bright yellow.
Yeah.
Like with like baggy and one shorts. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. No, it's not
like that's, I don't know.
Again, it ruins the whole thing. The pants are so much as a combo that it ruins the whole thing. So I'm not putting this like, this would still be like a C+. I give it a D for me.
I give it a D.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you're pretty against them. All right.
I'm not a big fan. But I think that's it. I thought that was really fun.
That was a good one. Dude, we invented the Vancouver Spider-Man.
We did.
That's going to be a great running gag.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next we're going to be looking at some other fun things. So we're going to be going to a good old tier list. So what I have for you is 8 different guys, and we're going to be putting the NFL's worst haircuts into a tier list. So let's put these crazy NFL haircuts into a tier list. Alrighty, let's just go in order. Starting off, I don't know if you can see that well, Jonathan. Can you see it?
It's a bit hard for me.
I'm going to zoom in a little bit.
Okay, there we go.
So first up, whoops. There we go. We got Jeff Reed with this bleached out look.
The bleach. Wait, are we ranking these in terms of like worse is higher or worse is lower?
I think worse is higher. Like this is like based on how crazy they are and wild.
Chris, then I give this like, I think I give this like a C. Like it is weird, but relative to some of the hair on this list, just bleaching your long, like it's the thing that's carrying it is how terrible his hairline is. Like, and a truly atrocious hairline. But if it wasn't for that, that looks like a haircut that, like, you could even see, like, a somewhat normal person having.
Well, you know, I think that for me,
maybe I surround myself with freaks.
The bright line. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, where are you going? California or something? Anyway, the bright line for me is like, I could, like, this isn't like, I could see this being just like this is just, it looks like someone who just doesn't really care that much about their hair necessarily, as opposed to like going out of their way to do something wild.
Well, it's also,
speaking of which,
the weirdest combo is the fact that it's like committing to bleach your hair, but then like not doing anything with it is really funny. Like being like, yeah, I'm going to bleach my hair, and then it's just going to be a giant mess with a terrible hairline is funny.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go next to Antonio Garay with this like cool, I kind of mess with this, honestly.
These, I think just in terms of like wackiness, I have to put this at like an S. It's awesome.
Yeah.
These look,
I think it's really cool.
Do you know what these look like? And we're going to have to like make a clip of this, or you can Google it online. But you need to look up the Patrick Ewing there's a Patrick Ewing shoes that I owned when I was in college that were really, and he has multiple brands of shoes, but he has a design that looks just like them.
You owned those in college?
Oh, dude, I was rocking those. Those were a vibe.
Dude, absolutely. I love the idea too. So like at Patrick Henry?
yeah, at PhD. Dude, I was, you know, living it up.
Absolutely.
But anyways, no, that Antonio Durang, that is absolutely an S tier haircut.
Absolutely. All right, next up we got the monk, Tim Tebow. I think this was his rookie haircut, which is why it's so crazy.
Tim. What are we doing?
Are you good, man? It's like an inverse of a bowl cut.
Well, no, this was I believe this was he was hazed as a rookie.
Yeah.
This was his rookie hazing haircut. And it's also just so perfect because of like the Tim Tebow, you know, religious aspect, being a monk.
Yeah.
It fits so perfectly.
I love it.
I think I have to throw that an S. He should have rocked that way longer.
Dude,
he should be rocking that on SEC Network right now. He'll finally have his in, like, it's kind of like solidarity. It's solidarity with Paul Feinbaum.
My favorite, most underrated part of this is how his sideburn connects.
Oh yeah, like with the strap down.
It's like one piece.
Yeah, it's like he has like a sweatband that has a chin strap.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Looks like one of those old retainers, like a headgear that people would wear. Oh. Alrighty, we can move on to Brian Bosworth. I am a fan. I feel like this fits the time so well. I'm not a big fan of the mullet, but this is like different enough in my mind where I like it.
I almost don't even know if I can call that bad enough to put it in S.
No, I would say if the metric is crazy,
B.
It needs to go in like C.
B or C. I say B.
Yeah, I think B. Yeah,
because it's different, but he pulls it off. Like that's the difference.
He did.
It's crazier than what Jeff was doing, but he actually pulls it off.
He does. His actually looks cool.
Yeah.
We can move on to literally every, like, you know, 8th grader in America, Paul Duncan. This is the haircut they're rocking.
Dude, the broccoli cut. It's so good.
Absolutely. Looks like a llama, dude.
It's like a broccoli cut that was like taken up a foot way too high. Like the barber was just like, oh, Like just straight up. Like a cylinder.
Oh my gosh.
No,
Yeah.
that's, if we're talking about just bad, it's an A.
Yeah, I would say so. I'm just gonna put it in A. That's so funny.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now we got to move on to not an NFL player, but like I just had to include this on the list.
Oh yeah, Mark
Davis.
Mark. In terms of being iconic,
you are so rich.
In terms of being iconic, it's an S. It's absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just like how can you have a haircut like that when you have that much money? Like, is it because people are intimidated so they don't say anything?
It might be like a fetish for him. He was really into like pulling girls, like young girls, because he's so rich, and they're like, "Oh, the haircut looks great." Like maybe he's into that. Like he knows, he's like, "Oh, this is so terrible," but they still are falling for me anyway.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, some sort of weird like kink.
That has to be the only answer.
It's the only logical explanation. Because again, like how do you amass that much money and have such a bad haircut? But you know, there are plenty of examples of rich people with bad haircuts.
But that's like
one particularly comes to mind.
Well, even still though, but it's also like screw Zuckerberg. Mark Davis has been pulling this stuff off for years. Like he's just sticking with the bowl cut. He's a model of consistency.
Maybe maybe it's like OCD. So like maybe it's not a game and he just he hates change. Like that's why the Raiders have been bad for so long.
Mark Davis is to the bowl cut what Fred Warner is to the position of linebacker. He's just the pinnacle right now. He's the staple. He's in a tier of his own.
He is the standard.
It's him and Mo from Three Stooges.
And Vector from Despicable Me.
The Holy Trinity
of bowl cuts. Okay, next we can look at, why is my computer not, whoa, I just like almost hacked into the tier list. Okay, Pat, I can't even say his
McQuiston.
name. He got his haircut. Why does it not surprise me that a guy named Pat McQuiston has this haircut?
Hey, it's really good.
Oh my gosh.
It's
yeah, from the back.
From the
back, you're like, oh.
It's party in the back, stage 4 in the front.
Oh my gosh.
That's awful.
Oh my gosh. Where are we going? Are we going A? I'm feeling A.
I'm feeling A.
Okay. And then finally, we got George Bias. With the sunglasses and mustache on the back of the head. I love this. Props to his barber. You know,
yeah.
Just absolute ingenuity at its finest.
Actually, no, because it's not even that well done.
You're right.
Like George Bias was carrying all of the weight here. He had the idea. He's the ideas man, and he pulled up to his barber and was like, "Sunglasses." and the barber did not come through.
The barber has like a lazy eye. Like it's just
whoa. I have 20/20 vision, thank you very much.
Yeah, but it's just like a little slanted. It's clear. It's just a little off.
What is with you coming after yellow? All of a sudden talking about slanted eyes?
Lazy eyes. Okay, where are we going with this? Maybe like, I wish it was done better. You're right. I wish it was done better. So maybe like a B or an A, maybe a B.
Let's go with a B.
Okay, sounds good. So that's our perfect tier list of crazy NFL haircuts. That was fun.
That was good. That was good stuff.
That was fun.
All right, everybody. Well, that is it for the 9th episode of this podcast, but the first official episode of Two Down Territory. Let us know what you think of the name. Yeah, all the sound effects. They're all going to be playing right now. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of the things that we're begging you to do. We're on our knees. And Adam, it's your turn. Give me the honors of the players whose highlights the viewers should watch right now.
So obviously there's a couple guys that we can talk about. I could talk about the guys on the list, but recently I watched a documentary about this guy. And so I started watching his highlights, and the way that he ran the ball could bring a grown man to tears. Go watch Barry Sanders run the football. Watch some highlights of Barry Sanders, and specifically start with his college tape and watch through the NFL.
And I
because
this isn't like some
incredible.
hot take, or it's not a hot take. It's just the fact. But
I know what you're about to
say. I won't go
say.
through it right now. Just, you don't even have to look at the highlights. Just go to Barry Sanders' college career stat line, specifically his Heisman season. You will be astonished. It's undeniable.
He played for Oklahoma State,
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, the Cowboys?
Yep.
Yeah, just absolutely put on a clinic. Alrighty, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Peace.